On the night the ocean roared without warning, an entire coastline dropped into legend. In January of 1700, along the vast and forested margin of the Pacific Northwest, a megathrust earthquake ruptured what we now identify as the Cascadia Subduction Zone. This tectonic boundary, where the Juan de Fuca plate slides beneath the North American plate, released centuries of accumulated strain in a single, violent convulsion. Coastal lands from present-day Northern California through Oregon and Washington and into what is now British Columbia abruptly subsided. Forests drowned, villages flooded, estuaries reshaped themselves overnight. Archaeologically, this was not merely a seismic event, it was a horizon line in time, a stratigraphic boundary etched into soil, sediment, and memory. Long before modern science gave it a name, the Earth had already archived the catastrophe. Today, we trace the 1700 earthquake through ghost forests, stands of western red cedar and Sitka spruce that died simultaneously when saltwater surged across newly lowered land. Their trunks, preserved in tidal mud, still rise like gray sentinels from coastal marshes. Dendrochronology allows us to pinpoint their final growing season to the winter of 1699 to 1700. Beneath these forests lie peat layers, suddenly capped by marine sand sheets, unmistakable evidence of tsunami inundation. Each sediment core extracted from these marshes reveals a sharp boundary. Organic marsh growth below, tsunami sand above. It is the geological equivalent of a scar. What appears today as tranquil shoreline once convulsed with continent-scale violence. The rupture extended roughly 1,000 kilometers along the Cascadia margin, producing an earthquake estimated at magnitude 9.0. Coastal subsidence in some areas measured up to 6 feet.
Preserving the ancestral
Entire
encounters
intertidal
with the spirits of
ecosystems
this land.
shifted inland. Archaeological sites that had once stood safely above high tide were thrust into tidal zones or erased entirely. Shell middens, accumulated over generations, were truncated or buried. In the stratigraphy of coastal settlements, this event marks a sudden break, a disruption visible not only in sediments, but in patterns of occupation. Indigenous oral traditions preserved the thunder long after the ground fell silent. Nations along the Pacific Northwest recount stories of a night when the earth shook violently and the sea surged inland. Among Coast Salish communities and others across the region, narratives describe villages swallowed by waves and landscapes transformed by supernatural conflict beneath the sea. For archaeologists, these accounts are not dismissed as myth. They are treated as encoded environmental knowledge. When aligned with geological data, oral histories provide cultural context to physical evidence, reinforcing the precision of a date science independently confirms. Across the Pacific Ocean, a distant shoreline recorded the same moment in ink. Japanese historical documents describe an orphan tsunami that struck coastal villages on January 26, 1700, without a locally felt earthquake. Only centuries later did researchers correlate these records with Cascadia's rupture. This transoceanic connection confirmed the scale of the event, a tsunami powerful enough to cross the Pacific Basin. The Pacific Northwest earthquake thus becomes not only a regional disaster, but a global phenomenon, binding North America and Asia in a shared seismic narrative. Beneath present-day coastal towns lie settlements that endured and adapted. Archaeological excavations along estuaries in Washington and Oregon reveal occupation layers abruptly overlain by tsunami sand. Hearth features vanish beneath marine deposits. Structural post holes terminate at the same horizon. Yet above this layer, new construction phases appear. Houses rebuilt on higher ground, sometimes with modified architectural techniques. Communities relocated, restructured, and reoriented toward altered shorelines. The archaeological record speaks not solely of destruction, but of resilience. The so-called Thunder Kingdom was governed by tectonic inevitability rather than kings. The Cascadia Subduction Zone accumulates strain slowly as plates converge at roughly 4 centimeters per year. For centuries before 1700, the boundary remained locked. When it finally ruptured, the release propagated along the margin in minutes. Modern geophysical modeling suggests violent shaking lasting several minutes, enough to topple structures and trigger landslides across steep coastal terrain. In river valleys, liquefaction may have destabilized soils, supporting villages and storage pits. Imagine standing on a beach as the sea withdraws in unnatural silence. Tsunami modeling indicates multiple waves struck the coast, some reaching heights exceeding 30 feet in localized areas. Canoe landings, fishing platforms, and shoreline camps would have been obliterated. Middens near low-lying estuaries were scoured. In some locations, archaeological deposits show abrupt erosional truncation, as though sliced by an unseen blade. The material culture of daily life, tools, ornaments, food remains, was displaced or lost to the ocean. Yet within the layers of catastrophe lies evidence of continuity. Radiocarbon dating of charcoal fragments above tsunami deposits reveals reoccupation within decades. Fishing technologies persisted. Trade networks re-established themselves. Cultural traditions adapted to altered landscapes. Rather than a narrative of collapse, the archaeological record suggests transformation. Knowledge systems, particularly those encoded in oral tradition, likely guided relocation to safer ground and informed future settlement choices. Every tidal marsh along Cascadia's edge is a time capsule of vertical motion. Core samples reveal repeated cycles of subsidence and uplift stretching back thousands of years. The 1700 earthquake is merely the most recent full-margin rupture in a long sequence. Peat sand couplets, marsh soil overlain by tsunami sand, appear at intervals averaging 300 to 500 years. This cyclical pattern situates the Thunder Kingdom within deep geological time, reminding us that seismic quiescence is temporary. The forests that drowned in 1700 still whisper through their rings. Tree ring analysis not only dates the event, but reveals climatic context. Growth patterns preceding death indicate no gradual environmental decline. Instead, the trees perished abruptly. Their sudden demise confirms rapid subsidence rather than slow sea level rise. These botanical archives, preserved in anoxic mud, provide some of the most compelling evidence for the earthquake's timing and magnitude. Modern cities stand unknowingly upon the legacy of that night. Urban centers such as Seattle and Vancouver lie within the broader Cascadia region, influenced by the same tectonic boundary. Although these metropolitan areas did not exist in 1700, their infrastructure now overlays landscapes shaped by that rupture. Hazard assessments integrate archaeological and geological findings to prepare for future megathrust events. Thus, the study of 1700 is not antiquarian curiosity. It is applied science. The silence in colonial archives contrasts with the clarity in soil and story. In 1700, European settlement along the Pacific Northwest coast remained sparse. Written documentation of the earthquake within North America is virtually absent. This absence elevates the importance of indigenous knowledge and environmental proxies. Archaeology bridges that documentary gap, reconstructing lived experience through stratigraphy, paleoecology, and oral testimony. Storms today still erode bluffs that conceal fragments of that distant trauma. Coastal erosion occasionally exposes buried tree stumps or tsunami layers, providing fleeting opportunities for study before tides reclaim them. Cultural resource managers race against natural processes to document sites threatened by sea level rise and intensified storms. The same forces that shaped the 1700 landscape continue to act upon it, compressing past and future into a single dynamic continuum. To call it a kingdom is metaphor, but its authority was absolute. The Thunder Kingdom of Cascadia ruled through physics, compression, friction, rupture. It reshaped ecosystems, redefined shorelines, and forced human communities to adapt. Archaeology reveals that adaptation was neither passive nor chaotic. It was informed, strategic, and resilient. Villages moved, architectural styles adjusted, oral histories encoded warnings for future generations. In the interplay of thunder and tide, the Pacific Northwest became an archive of endurance. The 1700 megathrust earthquake stands as one of the most powerful natural events in North American history. Through ghost forests, sediment cores, oral traditions, and cross-Pacific records, we reconstruct a night when land fell and water rose. Yet the deeper narrative is not solely about destruction. It is about continuity, about communities who survived seismic sovereignty and carried forward memory as both caution and inheritance. Stand today on a quiet Cascadian beach, and you stand upon a boundary waiting once more. The tectonic plates continue their convergence. Strain accumulates invisibly beneath forest and city alike. Archaeology teaches us that landscapes remember, even when people forget. The Thunder Kingdom of 1700 is neither myth nor distant anomaly. It is a chapter in an ongoing geological story. In its layers of sand and drowned timber, we read both warning and witness, a reminder that beneath the serenity of the Pacific Northwest lies a restless frontier of earth and sea.